Bold fighters, welcome to the Force and Honor channel. In a maneuver that echoes the electrifying scenes of elite missions in action films, two U.S. Navy F-18 Super Hornet jets tore through the sky in daring, low-altitude flights over the heart of territory controlled by Nicolás Maduro. The aircraft, operating with surgical precision, penetrated directly into a critical zone in the Gulf of Venezuela, just miles off the coast of Zulia, where the dictator is believed to maintain fortified underground shelters, bunkers once invisible, now exposed by American intelligence. The incursion, recorded in real time by flight tracking platforms such as Flight Radar 24, lasted about 40 minutes, with the jets circling in patterns that seemed deliberately provocative, as if shouting, "We're here and you can't stop us." Analysts interpret this as an unequivocal message from Washington. The Chavista regime stands bare, vulnerable, and the noose is tightening. This show of force did not come out of nowhere. Under the leadership of President Donald Trump, re-elected and more determined than ever, the United States has escalated its maximum pressure strategy against Caracas to an unprecedented level. In a recently revealed phone call reported by the Wall Street Journal, Trump delivered a brutal ultimatum to Maduro. "You can save yourself and those closest to you, but you must leave the country now." A promise of safe passage for the dictator, his wife Cilia Flores, and his son, but only if he stepped down immediately. Maduro refused, demanding global amnesty and control over the armed forces, but the clock is ticking relentlessly. Maduro's days are numbered, Trump told Politico, refusing to rule out the deployment of ground troops. And this rhetoric is no bluff. On December 11th, the U.S. Treasury Department imposed new sanctions on 3 of Cilia Flores' nephews accused of drug trafficking, as well as 6 oil tankers and maritime companies that make up the regime's dark fleet, responsible for smuggling billions in crude oil to finance the Chavista chaos. These vessels, such as the White Crane and the Kiara M, were blocked for deceptive and dangerous practices, severing the financial lifelines of a government that depends on illicit exports to survive. The bunker in question, exposed by the CIA in recent investigations, is nestled inside Maiquetía International Airport, just 32 kilometers from Caracas, the epicenter of Maduro's power. This complex is no mere hideout. It serves as a headquarters for high-level Chavista meetings and a refuge against external threats, equipped with Russian air defense systems, such as the S-300. However, the flyover by the Super Hornets, escorted by an EA-18G Growler specialized in electronic warfare, revealed the cracks. No interception came from Venezuela's Su-30s or F-16s, whose active fleet barely reaches a dozen operational aircraft, according to estimates from Latin American military aviation. The Growlers, with their jamming capabilities, likely mapped radars and missile silos, collecting intelligence for future operations. "It's a test of nerves," commented an official from U.S. Southern Command, Southcom, who described the missions as routine and lawful in international waters. But everyone knows, this is pure intimidation, part of Operation Southern Spear, launched in November to eradicate narco-terrorists from the hemisphere. Let's dive into the guts of this flying beast that humiliated Maduro's defenses. The F-18 Super Hornet, the larger and deadlier twin of the classic Hornet, is the flagship of U.S. naval aviation, a multifunctional machine designed by Boeing for the Navy and Marine Corps, capable of setting the pace in any theater of war. With a wingspan of 13.6 meters, a maximum takeoff weight of up to 30 tons, and a top speed of Mach 1.8, over 2,200 kilometers per hour, it devours distance. A combat range of 702 kilometers without refueling, stretching to 3,300 kilometers with external tanks. Its sensors are otherworldly. The AN/APG-79 AESA radar, with active electronic scanning, detects targets at 370 kilometers even under heavy interference, while the ATFLR pod offers infrared surveillance and laser designation for nighttime strikes. In 2025, upgrades such as the IRST-21 Block 2, a passive infrared sensor integrated into the centerline tank, boosted its stealth, reducing radar cross-section by 50% and enabling it to hunt stealth aircraft like Russia's Su-57 without emitting signals. Armed to the teeth, the Super Hornet carries an arsenal that turns intimidation into annihilation. AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles for close-range dogfights AIM-120 AMRAAMs for beyond visual range kills, and the brand new AIM-174B, derived from the Navy's SM-6 missile with a 400-kilometer range, tested in November 2024 against Yemeni targets. For ground strikes, it delivers JDAM and paveway guided bombs, the LRASM anti-ship missile, launched from an Australian Super Hornet in February 2025, and the GBU-53B Stormbreaker, used in combat for the first time in March 2025 against moving targets under harsh conditions. This versatility makes it ideal for scenarios like Venezuela, air superiority to neutralize Maduro's fragile air force, surgical strikes against command centers or narco-trafficking routes, and support for special operations incursions such as those by the Marine Raiders. Picture this: a squadron of Super Hornets covering an infiltration into hostile territory, providing real-time reconnaissance via Link 16 and precise bombing runs that minimize collateral damage yet obliterate bunkers like the one in Mycacia. The history of this aerial predator is a saga of relentless victories. Since its debut in 2001, the Super Hornet has accumulated more than 12 million flight hours as of August 2025, serving as the backbone aboard aircraft carriers such as the USS Gerald R. Ford, positioned in the Caribbean since November. In Iraq and Afghanistan, it obliterated insurgent targets during Operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom, launching thousands of PGMs, precision-guided munitions. In the Persian Gulf, it patrolled vital routes against Iranian threats. In Libya, in 2011, it carried out Operation Odyssey Dawn, taking down Gaddafi's defenses. More recently, in 2025, Super Hornets from the USS Harry S. Truman bombed Houthi positions in the Red Sea using SLAM-ER for rare anti-ship strikes and participated in joint exercises with allies such as Australia and NATO, simulating Caribbean scenarios. In Venezuela, these flights reinforce Trump's narrative. The U.S. will no longer tolerate the Chavista narco state, labeled a playground for adversaries such as China, Russia, and Iran. Beijing buys 7% of its oil at bargain prices, Moscow ships weapons despite the war in Ukraine, and Tehran trains militias. But the Cartel de los Soles, now an FTO, foreign terrorist organization, under Trump's executive order in January, is the regime's Achilles heel. The pilots who tame these giants undergo a hellish training gauntlet that forges legends. At the Navy's Top Gun school in Fallon, Nevada, they face high-fidelity simulations, dogfights against virtual F-35s, ground strikes in simulated fog, and nighttime carrier landings under enemy fire. Every launch from the deck, a catapult shot to 260 kilometers per hour in seconds, demands millimeter-level precision, with error margins measured in centimeters on turbulent seas. In 2025, the program included AI-integrated autonomous tactics, preparing them for missions like the tightening noose around Venezuela. Rapid power projection from the Ford with its 75 aircraft ensure 24/7 coverage over the Caribbean. The carrier, with its nuclear reactor and electromagnetic catapults, is a mobile fortress, allowing Super Hornets to reach Caracas in minutes, intercept suspicious flights, or launch missiles against narco-traffickers. The December 9th operation was seen by everyone. The FA-18s launched from the Ford, anchored between Zulia and Falcon, circling waters near Maracaibo before heading north. The Venezuelan newspaper Últimas Noticias confirmed the origin, framing it as anti-narcotics maneuvers, but the panic in Caracas is palpable. Cornered, Maduro accuses Washington of naval piracy after the seizure of the tanker Skipper on December 10th, the first armed blockade in decades, with the crew detained and the cargo confiscated. He pleads with Putin, but Moscow, bogged down in Ukraine with 600,000 casualties, offers only rhetoric, a support phone call on December 11th with no real commitments. Allies like Cuba and Nicaragua mutter, but the isolation is total. These fighters do not fly alone. They operate within a lethal ecosystem. They can coordinate with F-35 Lightning IIs for stealth missions, Black Hawk helicopters for extractions, or P-8 Poseidons for maritime patrol. In joint strikes, they neutralize radars with growlers, clear the path for raiders on the ground, and destroy cocaine depots without fanfare. For the regime, this spells the end. Command centers evaporate, trafficking routes collapse, and the narco-terrorism that sustains Maduro, estimated at $20 billion a year, turns to ashes. The Venezuelan people, exhausted after years of hunger, repression, and the exodus of 7 million citizens, see in American pressure a glimmer of hope. Opposition leaders like Maria Corina Machado, who escaped to Curacao on December 9th under Super Hornet escort, according to Bloomberg, are calling for a democratic transition. Freedom or death echoes through the streets of Caracas, where protests grow despite repression. Trump, with sanctions that froze $7 billion in assets and a fleet that includes B-52 and B-1 bombers flying nearby, signals intervention is not inevitable, but it is imminent if Maduro does not yield. Here, in the heartbeat of global armed forces, the world watches in suspense. The Super Hornets are not just aircraft. They are messengers of a new chapter in the Americas, where dictatorships fall not through elections, but through overwhelming superiority. What comes next? A forced resignation before Christmas, or the roar of more turbines over Miraflores? The answer lies in the sky and in Trump's countdown clock.